Hello students, today we are going to discuss in this video the third chapter of your Flamingo book, that is Deep Water, written by William O. Douglas. Let's start the chapter. In the beginning, we are going to discuss about William Douglas, who was born in the year 1898 and died in the year 1980. William Douglas was born in Maine, Minnesota. After graduating with a Bachelor of Arts in English and Economics, he spent 2 years teaching high school in Yakima. However, he got tired of this. Means after spending the teaching in Yakima, he got tired of this teaching and he decided to pursue a legal career. He started his legal career and met Franklin D. Roosevelt at Yale and became an advisor and friend to the president. Douglas was a leading advocate of individual rights. He retired in 1975 with a term lasting 36 years and remains the longest serving justice in the history of the court. In this lesson, William Douglas reveals how, as a young boy, he once drowned in a swimming pool. This lesson is an excerpt which is taken from Of Men and Mountains, written by William Douglas. In this essay, he talks about his fear of water. Thereafter, how he finally overcame it. This lesson is an autobiographical account of William Douglas in which he tells us about his drowning experience and his fear of water. Now we will begin with the text. It had happened when I was 10 or 11 years old. I had decided to learn to swim. There was a pool at the YMCA in Yakima that offered exactly the opportunity. The Yakima River was treacherous. Mother continually warned me against it and kept fresh in my mind the details of each drowning in the river. But the YMCA pool was safe. It was only 2 or 3 feet deep at the shallow end. And while it was 9 feet deep at the other, the drop was gradual. I got a pair of water wings and went to the pool. I hated to walk naked into it and show my skinny legs, but I subdued my pride and did it. So, in this part, William Douglas is telling us about his liking towards swimming. He always liked to be a swimmer. So he started learning swimming at YMCA pool. His mother warned him against learning swimming in the river Yakima because Yakima River was treacherous. It is deceptive. No one can tell about the depth of Yakima River. So for the beginners of swimming, YMCA pool was considered safe, as its drop was gradual. It was shallow at one end, however, it was 9 feet deep at the other. William Douglas was a lean and thin kind of person, and he always disliked to show his lean legs while swimming in water. From the beginning, however, I had an aversion to the water when I was in it. This started when I was 3 or 4 years old and my father took me to the beach in California. He and I stood in the surf. I hung on to him, yet the waves knocked me down and swept over me. I was worried in water. My breath was gone. I was frightened. Father laughed, but there was terror in my heart at the overpowering force of the waves. So here William Douglas is is discussing with us a misadventure, a mishappening, a very bad experience of his childhood. When he was hardly 3 or 4 years old, he went to a beach in California with his father, and there he experienced the overpowering force of the waves, and he was almost buried in water. My introduction to the YMCA swimming pool revived unpleasant memories and stirred childish fears. But in a little while, I gathered confidence. I paddled with my new water wings, watching the other boys and trying to learn by aping them. I did this 2 or 3 times on different days and was just beginning to feel at ease in the water when the misadventure happened. William Douglas started learning swimming at YMCA swimming pool, but when he goes inside the pool, the unpleasant memories of his early childhood always haunted him. Though he gathered confidence by imitating the other boys in the pool, but still he tried it for 2 3 times and then he began to feel at ease in water. But suddenly a misadventure happened. Let's see what was the misadventure. Continue with the text. I went to the pool when no one else was there. The place was quiet, the water was still, and the tiled bottom was as white and clean as a bathtub. I was timid about going in alone, so I sat on the side of the pool to wait for others. I had not been there long when in came a big brochure of a boy, probably 18 years old. He had thick hair on his chest. He was a beautiful physical specimen with legs and arms that showed rippling muscles. He yelled, "Hi, Skinny, how would you like to be ducked?" So, here William Douglas is discussing that one day he went to YMCA pool and there he was sitting on the edge of the pool waiting for others. Suddenly, a big bully boy came there. He was a very strong personality with the rippling muscles, and suddenly he said to William Douglas that how he would like to be ducked, how he would like to be thrown in the pool. With that, he picked me up and tossed me into the deep end. I landed in a sitting position, swallowed water, and went at once to the bottom. I was frightened, but not yet frightened out of my wits. On the way down, I planned. When my feet hit the bottom, I would make a big jump, come to the surface, lie flat on it, and paddle to the edge of the pool. When William Douglas was thrown to the pool, he said he landed in a sitting position. He was not aware of this incident. He was not expecting this incident that day. He swallowed a lot of water. He was completely frightened, but still his intelligence was working. He planned to come to the surface by hitting the bottom and by making a big jump. Then he planned that he will paddle to the edge of the pool. It seemed a long way down. Those 9 feet were more like 90, and before I touched bottom, my legs were ready to burst. But when my feet hit bottom, I summoned all my strength and made what I thought was a great spring upwards. I imagined I would pop to the surface like a cork. Instead, I came up slowly. I opened my eyes and saw nothing but water. Water that had a dirty yellow tinge to it. I grew panicky. I reached up as if to grab a rope, and my hands clutched only at water. I was suffocating. I tried to yell, but no sound came out. Then my eyes and nose came out of the water, but not my mouth. So, this is the series of experience that William Douglas got in YMCA pool when he was tossed by a bully boy. Those 9 feet were, he was feeling like 90, means that was the deeper end. He was swallowing a lot of water, he was going to the bottom, and his legs were frozen, and he was feeling as if his lungs are ready to burst. Still, he summoned his strength and he wanted to come upwards like a cork. Bob means coming to the surface like a cork, like the cork of a bottle. But even after a lot of efforts, he came up slowly. He opened his eyes but saw nothing but water. A dirty yellow tinge, a dirty yellow color of water he can see, and then he grew panicky. Then he was very, very afraid inside the water, and he wanted to clutch something, he wanted to get something to save himself, but still he got nothing. Then he felt his eyes and nose going again and again inside water, and his mouth was not coming out. I flailed at the surface of the water, swallowed and choked. I tried to bring my legs up, but they hung as dead weights, paralyzed and rigid. A great force was pulling me under. I screamed, but only the water heard me. I had started on the long journey back to the bottom of the pool. Though William Douglas tried enough to come to the surface, he came to the surface, but still he swallowed and choked. He was completely filled, his nose and mouth was completely filled with water. He tried to bring his legs up, but he felt as if his legs are paralyzed and something was pulling him inside. He tried to shout for help, but nobody was there to help him, to hear him. So he started once again the journey back to the bottom of the pool. I struck at the water as I went down, expending my strength as one in a nightmare fights an irresistible force. I had lost all my breath, my lungs ached, my head throbbed. I was getting dizzy, but I remembered the strategy. I would spring from the bottom of the pool and come like a cork to the surface. I would lie flat on the water, strike out with my arms, and thresh with my legs. Then I would get to the edge of the pool and be safe. In this paragraph, William Douglas is again comparing his experience to a nightmare. Nightmare in which he had a fight with an irresistible force. Here, the irresistible force is water, and William Douglas was finding himself unable to fight against this force of water. He was losing his breath and his lungs ached, his head throbbed. He was feeling sleepy now, and still he is remembering the strategy that he will come like a cork to the surface, and then again he will move his arms and legs and then can be saved by reaching the edge of the pool. But on the contrary, I went down, down endlessly. I opened my eyes, nothing but water, with a yellow glow, dark water that one could not see through. So he was going down to the bottom of the pool, and there was water everywhere, and he couldn't see anything through this yellow colored water. And then sheer stark terror seized me. Terror that knows no understanding, terror that knows no control, terror that no one can understand who has not experienced it. I was shrieking underwater. I was paralyzed underwater, stiff, rigid with fear. Even the screams in my throat were frozen. Only my heart and the pounding in my head said that I was still alive. Here, a very, very severe experience that William Douglas faced. He said that after a while and after the consistent efforts, now he was feeling sleepy. And a sheer terror, a very severe terror that created in his mind, he was experiencing death, and he was experiencing a complete frozen hands and arms and legs, and he was paralyzed. He was only feeling a little pounding in his head, a little throbbing of his head only tell him, and the beating of his heart is telling him that he was alive. And then, in the midst of the terror, came a touch of reason. I must remember to jump when I hit the bottom. At last, I felt the tires under me. My toes reached out as if to grab them. I jumped with everything I had. William Douglas put all his effort. He was putting all his courage, all his strength to come to the surface of the water. He could feel the tires under his toes, and then he wanted to grab something, he wanted to catch something with the help of which he could come out of the pool, he could come out to the surface. So he jumped with all his strength and tried for the last effort. But the jump made no difference. The water was still around me. I looked for ropes, ladders, water wings. Nothing but water. A mass of yellow water held me. Stark terror took an even deeper hold on me, like a great charge of electricity. I shook and trembled with fright. My arms wouldn't move. My legs wouldn't move. I tried to call for help, to call for mother. Nothing happened. Here, even after putting all his effort, William Douglas couldn't find anything to come out of water. He found nothing. No one was there to help him. He wanted to grab something like rope, ladder, or water wing, but he found nothing but water. And then a stark terror start coming in his mind, and he was trembling with fright now. And my arms, he said, my arms wouldn't move, my legs wouldn't move, and he was unable to move his arms and legs now, and nothing happened. And then strangely there was light. I was coming out of the awful yellow water, at least my eyes were. My nose was almost out too. Then I started down a third time. After kicking the bottom of the swimming pool, William Douglas came to the surface, but with a very slow speed. And he looked all around. He saw only awful yellow water, only troublesome water, and his eyes and his nose was almost out too. But again he started for the third time going towards the bottom of the pool, and he sucked a lot of air, He tried to suck the air, but he got water. Then all effort ceased, I relaxed, even my legs felt limp, and a blackness swept over my brain. It wiped out fear, it wiped out terror. There was no more panic, it was quiet and peaceful. Nothing to be afraid of. This is nice. To be drowsy, to go to sleep, no need to jump, too tired to jump. It's nice to be carried gently, to float along in space. Tender arms around me, tender arms like mothers. Now I must go to sleep. In this particular paragraph, William Douglas is sharing with us the severe experience, the drowsy experience, the sleepy experience. It means he was becoming unconscious, and slowly, gradually, he was moving away from his consciousness, and he was saying that now all effort ceased, and he was feeling as if he is going to sleep in the tender arms, in the soft arms of his mother, and now he is completely away from his consciousness. I crossed to oblivion, and the curtain of life fell. And till the last consciousness of William Douglas, he reminded that he felt as if the curtain of life fell. He was feeling as if he died and nothing was left after that in his life. The next I remember, I was lying on my stomach beside the pool vomiting. The chap that threw me in was saying, but I was only fooling. Someone said, the kid nearly died. Be all right now. Let's carry him to the locker room. When William Douglas came to subconsciousness, he was still not perfectly conscious, but now he can hear the noise all around, the somebody who is speaking. Now he was able to listen. He was vomiting on the edge of the pool, and somebody was saying that he was only making fun. Probably he was that big brochure boy, and the other person was saying that it was nearly a dying experience for this kid, for William Douglas. Several hours later, I walked home. I was weak and trembling. I shook and cried when I lay on my bed. I couldn't eat that night. For days, a haunting fear was in my heart. The slightest exertion upset me, making me wobbly in the knees and sick to my stomach. I never went back to the pool. I feared water. I avoided it whenever I could. Even after several hours passed and William Douglas reached his home, but he was still feeling weak and he was trembling with fear. He couldn't eat that night, and there was a haunting fear was there in his heart, and he was quite upset. He was feeling sick to my stomach. He was feeling the same fear, haunting fear again and again. And then finally he decided that he will never go back to that pool. He started getting frightened from all the water bodies, and so he started avoiding whenever he could. That's all about the text and the explanation part. Now, the difficult word meanings that you found during the reading of the chapter. The first is treacherous. Treacherous means deceptive. Skinny, very lean and thin. Subdued, overcame and controlled. Aversion, dislike. Surf, foamy waves. Overpowering, uncontrollable. Tossed, thrown. Tinge, color. Panicky, confused and scared. Flied, moved without control. Dizzy, feeling giddy, feeling unconscious, feeling sleepy. awful, fearful, drowsy, sleepy, oblivion, forgetfulness, bobbly, unstable. Now, on the basis of your reading and your understanding, now we are going to discuss some of the short answer type of questions in which you have to answer them in near about 30 to 40 words. Why did the narrator think the YMCA pool safe? How did William Douglas's aversion to water start? What was the misadventure that William Douglas speaks about? I was frightened, but not yet frightened out of my wits. Describe the state the narrator was in. Fifth, why did he grow panicky? What happened to his body, his legs, lungs, head, and heart when he was drowning? What happened when he started down a third time? Then all effort ceased and he crossed to oblivion. Describe this particular state the narrator was in. What happened when William Douglas came to his senses? I never went back to the pool. Why and for how long? Now I have given you two more questions which are long answer type questions in which you have to answer the questions in about 120 to 150 words. Under long answer type questions, question number 1 is how did Douglas develop his aversion to water and what was his misadventure at the YMCA swimming pool? Question number 2 is describe the state of panic that gripped him as he was almost drowned in the YMCA pool. So dear students, you answer these questions and as assignment and also try to write the value points for those answers you feel easy to answer, easy to frame their answers, so you can also write value points for that. Thank you for watching the video.